Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise, uncover those hidden currents really shaping our global economy, and turn complex data into clear, actionable insights for how. Today, we're plunging headfirst into, well, the pretty fascinating and rapidly evolving world of the retail and consumer packaged goods market, CPG.
Right.
And our mission for this deep dive is simple: extract the most important nuggets, the key insights from a really crucial source. That's the Global Retail and CPG Market Outlook 2025-2033 report from Cognitive Market Research. Think of this as your personal shortcut, yeah, to getting incredibly well informed about where this massive sector is heading, basically from 2021 right through to 2033.
Exactly. And it's not just about, dry numbers on a page. What's truly fascinating here is how these projections, they actually reflect fundamental shifts. Shifts in how we live day to day, how we shop, and which industries are really set to boom over the next decade or so. So this deep dive, it's going to illuminate some pretty significant changes in consumer behavior, the huge influence of technology, and the way markets are integrating more and more across the globe. It's
Yeah.
really about understanding the fabric of our daily lives, but projected forward, onto a global canvas.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with the global figures, just to get a sense of the scale. It's kind of mind blowing. In 2021, the global retail and CPG market generated sales revenue of, get this, $139.87 billion, almost $1.84 trillion. By 2025, that number is expected to climb to $548.3 billion. And looking further out, by 2033, it's projected to hit an incredible $1,798.86 billion.
Right.
That's an overall compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 4.673%.
Yeah, well, I was right. And what's really noteworthy here, I think, is the sheer consistency of that growth. We're talking projected growth across an entire decade. And like I said, these aren't just big numbers floating out there. They reflect real underlying drivers. Things like shifts in consumer behavior. Think about the massive move to online shopping or the increasing demand for sustainable products. Plus, there's the tech side, continuous advancement in technology, especially e-commerce, logistics, that sort of thing. And of course, markets just becoming more connected globally. It suggests a really robust, sustained expansion. It seems deeply embedded in how the world economy is, well, developing.
Okay, let's zoom in a bit. Moving across the globe, maybe starting with North America, a region most of us listening are probably pretty familiar with. So this massive market stood at $362.916 billion back in 2021. The forecast sees it rising to $427.543 billion by 2025, and then further still to $593.622 billion by 2033. That's growing at a CAGR of about 4.188%. Still very solid growth.
Definitely solid. And if we dive into the individual countries within North America, there are some particularly interesting dynamics playing out. The United States, naturally, it dominates the region. It accounted for, what was it, $300.857 billion in 2021, and it's set to reach around $485.761 billion by 2033. That's a 4.072% CAGR. Strong, steady. But here's something that genuinely stands out: Canada.
Oh.
Yeah. While it's a smaller market overall, its projected growth rate is significantly higher than the U.S. We're looking at 5.015% CAGR for Canada.
Huh. That is interesting. Why do you think that is? Any ideas?
Well, the report mainly gives the numbers the what, not always the deep why.
Yeah.
But we can speculate, right? It's likely a combination of factors. Maybe robust population growth, possibly boosted by immigration, strong economic fundamentals, perhaps. Or it could even be that certain CPG categories are just a bit less saturated there compared to the U.S., allowing for bigger percentage gains.
Yeah.
Something to consider.
I think that's in Mexico.
Mexico also shows really steady growth, a solid 4.367% CAGR. That points towards, a growing middle class there, evolving consumer taste too.
Right. Okay, so that's North America. Now, you mentioned varied dynamics. Let's cast our gaze eastward, across to Europe. This is where he said it gets really interesting given the diverse economic landscape. The region's total CPG revenue was $246.45 billion in 2021, expected to grow to $289.606 billion by 2025, and hit $404.743 billion by 2033. That puts the overall European TAGR at 4.273%.
Exactly. And within Europe, you really do see quite a mosaic, a real mix of growth rates. It tells a story about the different economies. You've got countries like Germany and the UK showing pretty significant momentum. Germany's boasting a strong TAGR, almost 5% actually, 4.953%. And the UK is also up there at 4.626%. That suggests, pretty robust consumer confidence, maybe driven by product innovation, maybe a strong embrace of digital retail. Could be both.
Okay, so Germany and UK are strong. What about others?
Well, in contrast, look at Russia. It shows notably slower growth. The KGR there is just 2.855%.
Oh, quite a bit lower.
Yeah, quite a bit. That lower rate points to very different market dynamics at play, likely influenced by Um, Geopolitical factors, domestic economic shifts,
Mhm.
things that are tempering consumer spending. Meanwhile, economies like France and Italy, they show steady, consistent growth, more in the 3.7% to 3.9% range. Mature markets, stable CPG demand.
Okay.
Spain is also doing quite well, actually. 4.546% CHER. And then you have strong showings from places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland. Even Luxembourg, though smaller, shows steady growth. So for you listening, these varied rates, they imply different levels of economic resilience, different stages of consumer market maturity right across the continent, and that directly influences where CPG companies are looking for their next big opportunities.
Got it. A real patchwork quilt of growth there. Now let's talk about the region you flagged as the true global growth engine. Asia Pacific, you said it's not just growing, it's the fastest growing region for CPG. Started at $283.885 billion in 2021, expanding to $351.396 billion by 2025. And projected to reach a really impressive $539.657 billion by 2033. That's a phenomenal 5.509% CAGR.
Phenomenal is the right word. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, well, the key players driving this exponential growth in Asia Pacific are pretty clear. China obviously is leading the region in sheer size. It's projected to hit over $165 billion by 2033, growing at 5.704% CAGR. It's just a massive market growth fueled by increasing urbanization, a rapidly expanding e-commerce system.
Right. The scale there is immense. But you highlighted someone else.
I did, because it's actually India that sees the highest growth rate in the entire region. Maybe even globally in this report, I'd have to double check. India is soaring at a staggering 6.309% CAGR, projected to reach over $87 billion by 2033.
Wow. Over 6%. What's driving that specifically in India?
Well, it's not just population size, though that's part of it. It's more about a rapidly expanding middle class, more disposable income. Plus, increasing internet penetration. That's driving digital payments, online shopping like crazy. And there's also a profound shift towards branded packaged goods, even out in rural areas. It really indicates a kind of modernization of consumer habits happening at speed.
Fascinating. And beyond those two giants,
Oh, definitely. We see really strong performances from Southeast Asia as a collective block, growing at 6.155% CAGR. That's huge. And Singapore, which is really cementing itself as a regional hub, shows powerful growth too, 5.839% CAGR. It really demonstrates its role as an economic powerhouse. Japan, South Korea, Australia, Taiwan, they all show solid growth too, maybe not quite as explosive, but still very healthy TGRs, mostly between 4% and 5 point something percent. These numbers, taken together, they really point to immense opportunities, yeah. And a significant shift in global economic power towards this incredibly dynamic region.
absolutely clear. Okay, let's pivot now to South America. You mentioned it shows, maybe surprisingly, consistent momentum. Started at $69.671 billion in 2021, reaches $84.635 billion in 2025, and projected to hit $124.517 billion by 2033. That's a healthy 4.945% CAGR overall for the region.
Very healthy indeed. And within South America, we see pretty robust performances from the major economies. It signals a clear upward trend in consumer spending down there. Brazil, being the region's largest market, is projected to grow to over $48 billion by 2033. That's a KGR of 4.817%. But look at Argentina posting an even more impressive 5.459% in TGR. That suggests quite a significant increase in consumer purchasing power, perhaps recovering from past issues.
Higher than Brazil's rate. Interesting.
Yeah, and countries like Colombia, Peru, Chile, they also show really healthy expansion. All of them have KGRs around or even above 5%. So this steady growth, it really signals significant economic development across the region, likely driven by things like rising middle-class incomes, continued urbanization, and just improving retail infrastructure, making packaged goods more accessible to more people.
Okay, good context. So to wrap up our regional tour, let's look at the Middle East and Africa, regions you described as having underexplored potential. Starting with the Middle East, its market rises from $50.954 billion in 2021 to $61.7228 billion in 2025, and then $90.249 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 4.862%, pretty strong. And within the Middle East, Saudi Arabia posts solid numbers, expected to reach nearly $24 billion by 2033. It's a 4.947% CAGR. The UAE shows a particularly high rate, actually, 5.5% CAGR, reaching over $16 billion by 2033. Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, others, also showing consistent growth patterns. Okay, now Africa. The CPG market there was valued at $25.997 billion in 2021. Expected to hit $46.069 million by 2033. That's a 4.105% CAGR. And by 2033, the projections showed Nigeria reaching over $7.5 billion, South Africa climbing to nearly $18 billion, and the rest of Africa category hitting over $20 billion.
Right. And what really stands out to you here, or should stand out, is that Africa, while it's currently smaller in overall market size compared to other regions, it truly represents well, a promising yet underdeveloped frontier for CPG. That's the potential story. Its projected growth, especially in places like Nigeria and South Africa, it's likely driven by factors like increasing mobile penetration that enables digital commerce, right? And also the rapid expansion of organized retail, supermarkets, and the like, especially in the bigger urban centers.
And the Middle East's strong growth, particularly UAE.
Yeah, for the Middle East, that high growth, like in the UAE, it speaks to economic diversification efforts, a significant expat population with all sorts of different consumer needs, and also a booming tourism sector, which definitely drives CPG consumption. So these regions, the Middle East and Africa, while maybe still building out some infrastructure compared to others, they are definitely where many companies are placing big bets for future market share. Significant opportunities there.
Okay, wow. That was quite a journey through the numbers, region by region. So, after all that, let's bring it back. What does this all mean for you, the listener? How do we synthesize this?
Yeah, let's tie it together. I think to synthesize all this data, it's undeniably clear, right? The global retail and CPG market is on a really robust, undeniable upward path. And importantly, this isn't just random growth. It's being driven by really foundational factors, things like regional innovation, demographic expansion, simply more people needing more goods, accelerated digitization, changing how and where we all shop, and crucially, continuously evolving consumer preferences. What we want is changing. So understanding these trends, from the powerhouse economies like the US, China, India, all the way to these rapidly rising markets like Southeast Asia, Colombia, the UAE, it gives you a much clearer picture of where global economic shifts are happening and where consumer power is increasingly concentrated. Ultimately, this sector, CPG and retail, it remains one of the most diverse and, frankly, opportunity-rich spaces in the global economy. It directly impacts what you see on store shelves every day and how businesses all over the world operate. It's kind of a barometer, isn't it, for global prosperity and shifting lifestyles.
Absolutely, a barometer. I like that. And there you have it. A swift, yet hopefully thorough understanding of the complex dynamics projected for the global retail and CPG market over the next decade. We've journeyed through literally billions, well, trillions eventually, of dollars in sales, region by region, all to give you that well-informed edge.
And thinking about all this, it does raise an important final question, maybe something you'll mull over. Considering that pervasive influence of technology and those evolving consumer preferences we kept mentioning from the source, how might these projected figures we've discussed, how might they be further shaped? Shaped by truly disruptive innovations we haven't even seen yet, or maybe unforeseen global events by the time we get to 2033. What fundamental shifts in how we actually live might CPG sales reveal looking back about our world a decade from now? Food for thought.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating dive into the world's most interesting topics. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again to unpack some complex stuff, hopefully help you understand the world just a little bit better. Today, we are tackling the huge, always changing world of retail and consumer packaged goods. CPG. Think about it for a sec. CPG is basically, well, everything you buy for your day-to-day life. Your breakfast cereal, those snacks you grab, shampoo, cleaning stuff. It's all CPG. It's kind of the engine driving so much of what we do every day.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And our job today really is to pull together the key insights from our sources on this massive market. We're going to focus on what's driving growth, the big hurdles it's facing, and maybe some of the really interesting trends popping up. And what makes it so compelling, I think, is how it touches, well, pretty much every single one of us every day, often in ways we don't even notice.
Exactly. And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a few of those aha moments. You'll start seeing the forces, sometimes subtle, sometimes not, that shape what you buy, and maybe why the brands and stores are making the moves they are. It's like pulling back the curtain on your shopping cart. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So if convenience is like the first big push, what comes next?
Well, yeah, that need for things to be easy, that doesn't just change the products, right? It totally reshapes how we actually buy stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where you see this explosion in e-commerce and direct-to-consumer channels, DTC. Online isn't just about reach anymore, letting brands get to more people. It's also giving them this constant stream of data, insights into what we prefer. It's like a real-time feedback loop.
Oh, interesting. So e-commerce isn't just selling things, it's a data mine. So if they're grabbing all this data, what are they, actually doing with it?
Right. They're using it for what they call data-driven personalization. And this is really changing the whole retail game. By using artificial intelligence, AI, on all that customer information, retailers can send super specific promotions, like right to your phone. They can tweak store layouts for certain groups, build shopping experiences tailored just for you. I mean, imagine an AI figuring out you're low on shampoo next week and sending you a discount before you even realize it. That's the kind of customization people are starting to, well, expect.
Wow. That level of precise targeting, it's kind of incredible what the tech allows now. And if we zoom out a bit from the tech side, what's the big economic picture here? What's fueling all this growth fundamentally?
Yeah, connecting it to the broader economy. A huge factor is the growth of the global middle class
Yeah.
and rising disposable incomes, particularly in emerging economies. That's a major underlying driver. As people have more money to spend, demand for branded goods just goes up.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean more volume. It pushes companies to diversify, to offer more variety across, tons of categories, new snack flavors, specialized personal care, you name it.
Okay, makes sense. But, it can't all be growth and smooth sailing. There must be some significant challenges too. Our sources definitely pointed to intense competition, pricing pressures. That seems really common. And it's not just price wars, is it? It feels like a fight for just getting noticed in this endless scroll world we live in. How does that hit brands beyond just margins?
Well, it forces them to pour money into really targeted digital ads, which, can make getting new customers incredibly expensive. It drives up those acquisition costs. And beyond just fighting for eyeballs, there's this whole question of operational stability. Things like raw material costs swinging wildly or disruptions in the supply chain. They make it really hard for companies to keep prices steady and manage inventory well. Remember that weird situation during the pandemic with the aluminum can shortage? Suddenly, brewers and soda companies were scrambling. It really showed how these global supply chains are so interconnected and, frankly, how fragile they can be.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect example, a kind of hidden weakness we didn't see coming. And another big constraint seems to be coming from us, from consumers, our growing awareness, especially about health, about the environment. We're looking closer at labels, asking about where stuff comes from, paying attention to sustainability claims. How does that actually translate into demands on the CPG companies?
It means brands basically have to change what they offer. They've got to move towards, clean label ingredients, more plant-based things, maybe adding functional benefits like immunity support. And they also have to adopt greener practices, like all the way through their operations. This whole push for sustainability, it's not just marketing fluff anymore. It's a direct response because consumers increasingly care about transparency and, well, the impact of their choices.
Right. And then there's the relationship with the stores themselves, the retailers. What impact does retailer dominance have, especially maybe on the smaller CPG brands trying to get a foothold?
Oh, that's huge. Big retailers, they often hold immense power over what gets on the shelf, how it's priced, and that can seriously limit how visible smaller or newer brands are and how much power they have to negotiate. It's not just tough talks on price. Often smaller brands have to pay these things called slotting fees just for shelf space, or they have to agree to really aggressive promotions that just kill their margins. It's a really tough environment to break into, and it genuinely shapes which new products you and I even get to see on the shelves.
So, okay, lots of headwinds. But despite all that, there are some really exciting trends emerging too. One that gets a lot of attention is sustainable packaging innovation. What are some of the really cutting-edge things happening there?
Yeah, the drive for sustainable packaging is moving way beyond just put it in the recycling bin. We're seeing really cool innovations like materials made from mycelium that's basically mushroom roots, or even edible packaging for things like water pods or condiments, and also these return and refill programs where the convenience is actually part of the sustainable model. That directly challenges that whole single-use mindset we've had for so long.
That is a big shift, a whole different way of thinking. What else is kind of shaking up the CPG status quo?
Another really interesting one is the rise of private labels. Store brands. They're not just the cheap knockoffs anymore. Not at all. They're offering seriously good value, great quality, and often they use the retailer's own customer data to spot gaps in the market and innovate, maybe even faster than the big national brands can, honestly. They're winning over a lot of people who see them as high quality and easier on the wallet.
Yeah, some of them are really impressive now. And on the product side itself, it feels like our focus as consumers is clearly shifting. Health, wellness, functional products, they seem huge. How is that demand changing what's in the products and what they promise on the label?
We're definitely seeing an explosion of clean label ingredients, plant-based options, things with added benefits like immunity support. They're becoming key reasons why we pick one thing over another. I mean, think about it. How many of us maybe bought something specifically because it said immunity support in the last couple of years? That shift towards functional benefits, it's not just a marketing angle. It really reflects our growing awareness and maybe sometimes our anxiety about health.
It really does show how our values directly shape product development. Okay, so how is technology kind of the glue holding all these transformations together?
Well, advanced tech like AI and the Internet of Things, IoT, physical things with sensors collecting data plus automation, they are absolutely transforming how retail actually gets done. They allow for real-time inventory tracking, changing prices dynamically based on demand, super sophisticated analysis of our behavior for smarter decisions. Like IoT sensors can tell when a product's running low on a shelf and automatically trigger a reorder, or even alert staff before a customer even notices something's out of stock. Pretty smart stuff. So, yeah, this deep dive, it really paints a picture of just how fast this whole retail and CPG world is changing. We've touched on the big forces, right? That constant hunt for convenience, the huge impact of digital transformation, and definitely that growing consumer focus on health and the planet.
Exactly. And hopefully these insights help you, the listener, understand not just what you're putting in your cart, but why. Why brands and stores are making the choices they make. It really does pull back the curtain on our everyday shopping from what's available to how it even got there.
And you can really see how interconnected it all is. The supply chain problems link to the rise of private labels, which links to the demand for functional, healthy products. It's all tied together, constantly pushing the next change.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. As this super personalized, data driven world becomes standard and sustainable packaging keeps innovating, how is our relationship with brands and stores going to keep evolving? What does this boom in health focused, clean label stuff mean for our choices down the line? And how will tech like AI and IoT keep blurring that line between shopping online and shopping in a physical store? Lots to chew on there.